Hello and welcome. Give everyone a couple seconds to roll in here. We're so happy to have you. We're going to be talking about leveraging new technologies for high quality leads and improving student success today. So thank you so much for joining. I'm really excited to introduce my two panelists. We have Athena Khan, CEO from Dreambound, and Burke Mallon, COO from Gurnick Academy of Medical Arts. And I'm going to have them introduce themselves. And while they introduce themselves, in the spirit of summer and summer vacations, I'd love them to tell us a future trip that they've been wanting to take. So Athena, I'll hand it over to you to talk a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Athena, CEO of Dreambound and co-founder. Started Dreambound about 5 years ago. Dreambound is the leading search engine for people to find career-focused education. We've also built an AI-powered career coach for people to figure out, what exact program should I do in order to get to where I want to be. And now Dreambound is used by 2 million people every year. We work with over 300 schools around the country and have learned a lot about the education and marketing industry since trip I would love to take. I would definitely love to go to Japan, especially, the yen is kind of weak right now. Never been before. A lot of my friends have been in the last couple of years, and I feel the FOMO.
Yeah, I've heard magical things about Japan. That's on my list too. Burke.
Uh, Burke Mellon, Chief Operating Officer with Gurnick Academy for just about 15 years at this point. And we've got 6 allied health based campuses in imaging technology, nursing, and some therapy programs. We graduate about 3,000 students per year at this point. And yeah, so it's been a fun ride over the last 15 years with growth and online and getting much better at handling lead gen and really taking care of our future students. So yeah, that's what we're all about right now. And I would say probably there's 2 places with the same ideology that we'd like to go. One is Scotland, and the other is Nova Scotia, Canada. Both have heavy influence Celtic music. We're somewhat of a music family, and son plays Celtic fiddle, and we're just completely into that. And we just love to hang out in either of those places for about a week, just experiencing music and the community.
Very cool. That sounds awesome. A lot of bagpipes in your future, I think.
Oh, please
Uh,
no.
I'm Lauren Ellison, and I work with the enterprise education customers at Lead Squared in a customer success capacity. So I'm very familiar with using a CRM for admissions. And prior to Lead Squared, I worked in the higher education industry at a school. So I'm really excited to be here. Seeing puffins is on my bucket list. So anywhere there are puffins, I would like to go, whether that's the Arctic Circle or Iceland. So somewhere along those lines. Okay, so we'll just cover a few housekeeping items before we get started. Everyone has been muted just to avoid any background noise. That means if you have pets or little kids running around your house, if you're working from home, you don't have to worry about that. If you are having issues with the volume, try clicking on the settings wheel to either change your audio device or adjust the volume there. We're really hoping to pique your interest during the webinar, so please feel free to be active in the chat. We'll have a couple of polls that will pop up. Please participate in those, ask any questions, and also introduce yourself in the chat and tell us where you work, because we're really excited to get to know you better as well. So let's get started. Our agenda today is to really talk about attracting qualified leads, engaging those leads, managing the student relationships, and then overall just improving the student experience. And we'll have discussion around this, and then we'll also give a few teasers on technology that can help you really take advantage of these different areas of the student journey. So we're going to kick it off with a poll to begin with. And we would love to know what your biggest challenge is in admissions. And Rishik, if you could kick off the poll for us, that would be great. Got some answers coming in here. Can everyone see the results as they're coming in? I think. Or is it just me?
Can't see it on the side.
Okay, cool. We've had some pretty good participation here. It looks like about half of you are saying attracting qualified leads is the biggest challenge. And then a third of you are saying managing inquiries. And a few have said speed to lead, and a few said improving student experience. But overall, it seems like attracting qualified leads is the biggest concern there. So that's great, because that's exactly what we're going to talk about. Burke, if you could tell us a little bit about the lead gen strategy at Gurnick, and how has this changed during your tenure there? I think you've been there for 15 or so years. What has that looked like? What are some of the challenges you've had with attracting qualified leads?
Well, I think right at the very beginning, it almost seems like ancient history at this point. But way back, we were engaging with different types of marketing firms. They would promise a certain lead flow. Really weren't focusing very much on quality of lead. And as you went through and asked them to increase the scrutiny, increase the pre-qualification before the lead came across inside of our organization, of course, costs went up and up and up. And even though they were doing further screening on our behalf, we were noticing that they just weren't asking the right questions. They just weren't representing our organization the way we wanted our organization to be represented. So we ended up taking on the entire marketing cycle in-house. It first started off with taking over, digital marketing, Google, et cetera, and buying keywords and ensuring search engine optimization.
Defining buying
Whoops.
keywords. A buying keyword,
Hold on
also
one
known
second.
as a transactional keyword,
I've
is a
got,
search query that indicates
see,
the
this
user's
is the
intent to make a purchase.
problem with having Google and Amazon and everyone listening to your every conversation. Power off. She started telling me how I should generate more leads. That was, I thought that was quite unique. Anyway, so we brought it in-house, and we started trying to really understand through examining our leads, and try to, how many good ones, how many bad ones, what defines good, what defines bad, trying to really understand and starting to segment all of those different buckets of lead quality. And that actually started driving, everyone's heard of A/B testing. I think in the Google world, we have ABCDE testing, platform pre-testing, then executing on mainline advertising, et cetera, et cetera. So it became pretty sophisticated pretty quickly with the onset of all the dashboards that the different organizations, whether it be Meta or Google, would offer us. It became a lot easier to get some insight into what we were doing and how successful we were, and the quality of the leads themselves. So yeah, we brought that all in house. Of course, we've got strong a Google presence, Meta, Facebook, really over the last while focused on social media, and what I call now starting to drive what I call byline advertising versus just blatant advertising. Byline meaning offer good experience, offer excellent information, offer guidance, don't offer the next start date and how enrollment is filling up soon. And by offering good guidance and good information, really trying to get people to take a look at, well, who is this organization? And maybe I should look at them as an opportunity for my education, et cetera, et cetera. So, again, rather than push, we call it pull, and do that. And first of all, establishing who we are and our competence, and also establishing our motive. And again, it's a very challenging thing, especially with the size of our admissions workforce that we have, trying to keep that culture front forward instead of it being, I need to enroll, I need to enroll, I need to enroll, because it will come around if done properly. So yeah, so we use I would say all the normal channels. We try to drive people to our content and our pieces, all upper funnel marketing, trying to establish competence. And then after that, really trying to get them to take those next steps through direct interaction with us, not only giving us a better understanding of who they are, but giving them that opportunity to kind of self-help through an inquiry. But the inquiry is not just an inquiry, but it's more than an inquiry. It's about finding out something about themselves first. And again, it's all about giving them, once again, the opportunity. And everyone's probably heard this saying ad nauseum. It's like meeting them where they are at and letting them take that next step, whatever that pathway is. We've got to give them multiple runways to go where they're comfortable to start interacting with us. That's what it's all about. And then we have that opportunity, after moving top of funnel to interest level of the funnel, to now what's the proper way to start engaging people. But getting all the way to the top, that's what the lead flow looks like for us. We probably generate over 3,000 inquiries a month, approximately, for all of our programs. And so, yeah, being on top of that and being able to analyze that data and understand where we're good and where we're bad and what's actually hitting home with the lead pool is super important. So, but does that hopefully, if you have any questions, but that's hopefully a good understanding of how we approach it.
Yeah, that's a great overview in history. And I know we're going to get into this a little bit later in the conversation, but I love the way you said your team kind of takes this consultative approach, or like truly an advising approach, rather than just saying like, this is the next start date, these are the programs we offer, like truly getting to know the student and proving that you're experts in the field. And these are the reasons why you should trust us in your future education and future career, right? Kind of jumping back to talking about lead gens, Athena, can you speak to the evolution of higher education, lead generation, and then just the general trends you've seen during your time working in the industry?
Yeah, totally. And I'm sure this might be a familiar story to some of you, but I mean, around like, 15, 20 years ago, education lead gen was a huge wild, wild west. There would be companies that would be offering like a free laptop, but not actually offering a free laptop, doing like lotteries and raffles and giveaways and things like that to really just like generate a cheap lead as possible, in the same way that Burke was saying. But then they wouldn't actually end up converting to enrollments, or maybe they would, but then they would actually feel very misled about the whole process because they thought they would be getting, a free laptop or whatever out of the whole thing. And then, the government started cracking down on some of these more for-profit, universities that were the ones paying for a lot of these leads, because they were trying to get costs down so that they could generate more, profit and tuition and enrollments and all that. And now we're kind of in this area where schools are very wary of being highly compliant. There are a lot of new rules coming down the line as well. Some of you may have heard about the new TCPA regulations, where every lead gen company now has to obtain one-to-one consent, where a student has to agree to be contacted by only one school, as opposed to like right now, even today, you fill out a form, you say that you're interested maybe broadly in healthcare, and then somehow you're consenting to like 10 different schools that all start calling you all at once. And then the student didn't realize that's actually what they ended up signing up for. So with all of that, now we're seeing that the cost of acquiring a student is becoming a lot more expensive. And, that doesn't even take into consideration all of like the um, ancillary work and people involved in that, like having a call center and having compliance staff to make sure that your school is being represented in a compliant way to students on your landing page and every other company's landing page that represents your name and all of those things. And so today, it's becoming quite expensive for schools to be able to acquire leads. Um, and there aren't a lot of great options. One is really you have to get really good at organic. So you can invest in SEO, like Brooke was mentioning, but that can, also be very competitive. You need to have a strong content team, strong SEO team that writes really targeted posts for people who are very much actively shopping for a type of program that they want to do at that moment. You could get really good at social media, but also takes a very specific type of talent and effort and investment that will compound over many years. Or you can just deliver a really great student experience so that hopefully later down the road, your graduates and alumni will be telling their friends and family about, or Reddit maybe, about how great your school is. So that's kind of the organic bucket. And then your second option is to somehow get really good at paid marketing, which you're competing against all these like very large lead gen companies, these schools that have very, very large budgets. And so you have to find that alpha in some way. So maybe it's you're going after certain program types that other schools don't offer, or certain regions because you have that name brand in that region. Or maybe you just like try a lot of different things and you somehow magically land on one sort of strategy that no one else has really discovered. And yeah, between those options, it can be really tough. So I definitely empathize with a lot of schools that are trying to grow right now. And yeah, it's a lot of just excellence across the board in order to make something work, of being very diligent about how do these channels actually result in enrollments? Is this profitable for me? Am I offering a great student experience so as many of them convert as possible if they sign up to be a lead? And am I being like very rigorous about, are these numbers gonna work out in a way that we can keep scaling up to yeah, grow with students. And sorry, I feel like I talked a lot about, numbers, but at the end of the day, it's all about creating a great student experience from start to finish, all the way across the board. So yeah, I empathize with any school that might be struggling with this right now.
Yeah, and as the cost per lead increases, the quality becomes even more important, right? So, Athena,
Yeah.
can you dive in a little more into Dreambound, and what are your conversations looking like with customers on the quality of leads and how you can kind of tailor the strategy to make sure you are providing quality leads? And if you wouldn't mind, just give us kind of a quick visual of the Dreambound platform.
Yeah, I'll preface with just like a quick story of how I ended up starting Dreambound in the first place. But I actually did not come from education or really marketing at all. I was a software engineer at Uber working on self-driving cars, and just saw a lot of people were about to lose their jobs very soon. And thought that we needed a way to be able to help people get into new careers that they wanted to do. So I ended up just becoming and getting some of these like certifications on my own. I became like an apprentice plumber, nurse aide, home health aide, some other stuff, and found that's actually like quite challenging to find like a program that met all of my availability and price and schedule and all those things. So that's why we ended up building Dreambound, which is a search engine. This is our site. We have, you can just search by a type of program or certification that you want, or you can search by broad industry if you're not sure exactly what you want to do. Or if you're really not sure what you want to do, we've also built a little AI career coach named Skipper to give some more personalized guidance. So how it works is someone can just type in what they're looking for. So maybe, I want to get into cybersecurity. It pulls in that person's location and zip code so we can get what options are near them, or online options if those are only what's available. Students can also see other programs that they might find related to that and sort by pretty much anything that they would need in order to pick a class. So different program types available online, I guess that's the only option available here. We also show Title IV and non-Title IV options, and then program duration, and if they're looking for a degree versus a certificate. And then we also do the same across healthcare, a lot of other different options for students. If they're interested in a specific one, they're able to just click directly on it, learn a little bit more about that school. And then we work with schools who want to grow their enrollment so they can have full control over this information, what information that they're trying to collect to pre-qualify students. We're fully compliant with TCPA. So a student is really able to browse and filter by anything that they want. And our ethos is really, we want to provide as much transparency and choice to students as possible. So, even though we will promote our sponsored schools, we want to pretty much have an option available for every student. So a student, in order to get sent to a school in the first place, they have shopped a little bit. They've picked, okay, I'm interested in the pharmacy technician certification program at CCI Training Center specifically. If they're not yet ready, they can just favorite it. But when they are ready to learn more about this program, they can just fill out all the information that they need in order to actually get started.
Very cool. Thank you so much. It's like the perfect student matchmaking. So once we have these, high quality interested students from Athena's team and Dreambound, what are we doing with them, right? We have to engage them. So moving into kind of the next segment in the student journey, we're going to talk about lead engagement, and I want to kick it off with the second poll. Rishik, if you would. So what aspect of lead management do you find the most challenging? We have initial contact, we have following up with leads, and we have conversion through the pipeline. And conversion through the pipeline could be contact to interview, interview to interview completed to application, all of that good stuff. We have a bunch of results coming in. Okay, I think you can see the results now. So we had 15% say initial contact, 38% following up with leads, and really the biggest concern is conversion through the pipeline. So how are you getting people to move and stay interested and engaged? I would like to jump into lead engagement and really just, Burke, are you aligned with our audience? Do you feel like conversion through the pipeline is the most challenging aspect for you and your team, or what aspect do you find the most challenging?
It's definitely the area that we are focusing on the most. I think the ability to try and create a speed to lead is a fairly mechanical process. Lead comes in, you've got to make sure you have enough resources at the right time to make sure you're having a competent turnaround time to touch these people. So from that perspective, again, fairly straightforward strategies on that side. But once you have them in the pipeline, you've got all kinds of different people that you're going to be interacting with. Our imaging programs and degree programs are people who really want to get into the field. I don't have problems with our people having communication challenges getting to that group of individuals. On the other side, we have some more diploma-based programs where people are looking at more entry-level opportunities, and they need more information. They're at the front end of their journey. They want to talk to someone, but at the same time, it's a big step for them where they're at in their life. And again, it's a different persona altogether. People jumping in for the first time that might be, trying to get out of their current lifestyle and challenges that they're facing in their life. And then the other people who have got some college already that are really interested in going that next level. It's, again, completely different persona. So being able to work your communication strategy and your pipeline strategy for those different types of personas is different. And again, for the people who are more on the degree, I kind of know what I want. I've looked at a lot of different schools. You have to allow them multiple ways to progress in your pipeline in a self-help way. These are very educated potential consumers of further education. So there's it's a little bit different there. Not all of them are all the way there, but there's a lot of them that are. So you have to really understand that component of it. So moving them through the pipeline, and understanding that you don't need to get them on the phone for every step of the way, and giving them opportunities to do things like upload documentation, essays, transcripts on their own without having an actual interaction with an admissions person is super important. If they want to go through all the way a process and inquire, but all of a sudden just start an application process with the school because they're ready, you've got to give them that off ramp. Whereas others, you've got to, I look at it as logic. It's just a series of decision trees that are facing these people, and you have to allow them, enough of them, to feel comfortable with the process. And on the other side, there's a lot more hand holding on the entry level programs, where you need a very, very empathetic approach to these candidates, and really, I guess, help them along in their decision making and give them great information along the way so they feel comfortable with you. So yeah, it's those two pipelines and the strategies at those pipeline stages. Even though maybe the pipeline stage is looked at as the same, it's different what happens there. So having really strong communication or comm strategy associated with your steps in your pipeline based on the profile and the programs that you are in fact offering is critical. So yeah, it's a training thing. It's for your admissions team to really understand how to do that, how to use the tools in front of you, and really understand, again, where that profile is coming from when they are inquiring.
That's great. I love this concept of kind of the multi-channel ability to progress through the pipeline, right? And just like you said earlier, like meeting the student where they're at. How do they want to move forward? How do they want to schedule an interview with you? And if you have these people who are using Athena's platform and they're looking for a cybersecurity or some sort of healthcare degree, right? They could be inquiring for 3 or 4 different schools at one time. So I think speed to lead is more important than ever now, and you have to differentiate yourself, right? Like, what is a unique experience you can provide that matches these like custom personas that Burke mentioned and really catches their eye and allows them to move forward in the way that they want to move forward. So I
Yeah,
want to show you. Yeah, go ahead.
well, I just wanted to add one thing, because I think it's incredibly important that people are not always ready to move forward now. And our experience has been that every single one of our enrollments, and Lauren, you and I have spoken ad nauseum about this, but every single one of our enrollments has, a certain percentage of leads that came from 18 months ago. 18 months ago forms a certain percentage of our upcoming cohort. Leads from 12 months ago forms a certain percentage of our upcoming cohort, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger as you get closer and closer to the start. And then it actually switches again about a month before your start. These ones are still interested in a future start at that point. So you've really got to understand that you just can't beat these leads up. In fact, we had experiences even in the number of of responses where they're saying, look, I am not ready right now. Please do not reach out to me for a certain period of time, or stop contacting me via this channel or that channel. And that's like complete saturation of your students. So speed to lead and being there and being on point and on task for these people, that's one part of it, certainly. But then you've got to understand where they're at very, very quickly, or you're going to start disposing of your leads, and it's just going to cost you a lot of money on that side. And especially with Gen Z. Gen Z, they will communicate with you how they want to communicate with you on their schedule. You are not going to push them. And sometimes they're excited, sometimes they're angry, sometimes they're frustrated, sometimes they're scared. And you just, there's no amount of trying to coax them along that is going to help at that point. So you've really got to understand who you're talking to. So sorry, I just had to finish that whole topic off, because it is so important right now with the current people who are looking at expanding their education.
Of course, and I think that's actually a really important concept as well, is, you know, you don't give up on people after 2 weeks or a month, right? Like the timing may have not been right for them at that moment. So they're still interested in furthering their education, you know, like keep engaging, not ad nauseum, but in a way that they want to engage. So I wanna show y'all this cool lead engagement platform. It's called FlowStack, and it's allows you to engage leads within seconds, right? So it's not necessarily the typical speed to lead you think of when you're saying you get a lead and you call them right away. This is more right after they submit a lead form or request for information, right? They will pop up with a customized thank you page. And this platform allows you to build out these custom personas, whether it's like a bachelor's level person who needs a little more hand-holding, or we're talking about doctoral level, like a completely different experience for both of those potential students. So you fill out the RFI, you pop into this customized microsite for that particular student. You could have something like this where it pops up with the person's admissions advisor they've been assigned to and a nice intro to that person. And then they jump into their customized landing page. It can show jobs based on the program of interest that are near the person's location, which is super cool. Show additional detail about their program of interest. You can talk about payment options, introduction to the person they're going to be working with for admissions. There's a lot of self-service ability here. You can allow them to book an appointment. So say it's just a one-on-one call, or perhaps it's a campus tour, whatever you're trying to get them to do next. And just like Brooke said, in the self-service, self-help way. So they're able to book a time slot here. You'll get an appointment book notification, and then Olivia on her side would get the notification as well. In addition, you can request a callback. You can start a chat with the admissions advisor or whomever may be available at the time to just start a different conversation here. So again, kind of rehashing this multi-channel options for them to engage with you. It doesn't always have to be the traditional call or text message, right? You can allow them to book their own appointments. You can allow them to chat with you. But I think this is just a really cool way to provide this personalized experience immediately. Especially think about like on the weekends or at night, or if you have times when your team is not working and someone inquires, this allows them to continue their journey immediately without someone being available. So just wanted to share a little teaser here of the FlowStack product. We've also talked to schools about using this for like financial aid resources. So that's always a really common question among students. Like it's a confusing concept. They're changing the rules, you know, it's intimidating dealing with any kind of money. So maybe you have a custom microsite specifically for financial aid and guiding them, and then they're able to chat with their financial aid advisor and get that help that they need at the moment they need it. So lots of cool use cases for this platform. And I want to jump over to Burke because I know his team is working on building a really similar experience to this. So Burke, why did you try to decide this tactic? And when you're launching it, how do you know it's successful? Like, what kind of lift are you looking for?
Well, first of all, the whole concept probably started about 6 years ago, maybe even more at this point, where we were talking about complete student life cycle from initial inquiry all the way through to alumni, and trying to create interactions at all those points, including, of course, their time in school, so people could converse with each other. It's kind of like I guess combining LinkedIn with Indeed, with Facebook, with all of these different things all kind of together for a school environment. So it was something that we looked at really engaging and developing over the years. This the front end component of it, and again, if you don't get back to someone right away, if a chat bot is not going to save the day at 10 p.m. on a Saturday night, they're just not interested in engaging with a chat bot, but they want to talk to someone. How do you get more information in front of them more quickly? And again, things that they can engage with, truly learn something, and then again have multiple pathways to give them next steps that they can control. And so that was our whole premise on the front end. And I think if you get those opportunities and they take those pathways to engage with you via a question, or setting an appointment with you on a schedule that makes sense during daylight hours, et cetera, et cetera, I think that's the best way. I would expect, my guess is that if you can get upwards of 10-15% more engagement on the front end, through them taking self-help, getting the information they want, feeling satisfied with that interaction without a phone call, because again, it happens not in daylight hours, then you will get those, again, questions, inquiries, and appointments. And for appointments, and whether they're an appointment to talk or a school tour or something along those lines, I find that, or we're finding that the hold rate on self-help appointment setting is actually pretty good. It's not this, geez, when people say they're going to come to a webinar or an open house, and we go, yeah, what did we get this time? Oh, we got a 60% hold rate, or we got a 40% hold rate on people. It's actually it's been pretty consistent that we're getting, in excess of 50% hold rate. And are there ways to improve that? Yes, there are. And those are tactics we're engaging in right now, trying different ways. But if it's all the same and you're getting same hold and communication rates after giving the self-help, versus it has to come after a direct email from us or a direct phone call, this is a wonderful move forward. And 10% improvement on that side on 3,000 leads per month, it pays for itself pretty quickly.
That's fantastic. And I would imagine giving them that self-help option too would increase your net number of people who are booking the appointment. And then ideally, even if the percentage that actually show up goes down, the total number of people could still go up there, right? So
Right.
that's
And it's not it's never meant as a complete substitute for direct outreach to talk to someone and do that. And I know that over the years, with the advent of technology, in some cases you get you get individuals that will outreach, but they'll only outreach through text. You go, when's the last time you called someone? Oh, well, I texted them. I go, but did you call them? Did you actually have a chance for a voice to voice? But I texted them, and it's just not the same thing. And sending someone a link simply to set up an appointment with you based on your calendar through a calendaring application is not the same as reaching out, talking to them, saying, hey, what time next week works? Do you have any questions? Can I tell you a little bit about more what to expect before you come in? It's just it's not a direct substitute. It's something that needs to be combined together.
Yeah, exactly. I think the key is to provide them options, right? Like, how do they want to engage with you, just like we've been talking about. So thanks for diving a little bit into the data. Athena, can you share some enrollment benchmarks for us? And what are you seeing as far as rates and how we're looking at data? How can we understand if we're being successful?
Totally. I mean, so it all comes down to cost per start and cost per enroll rates, especially cost per start, and everything else just kind of backs out into that. So if you have like a low conversion rate, then hopefully your per lead cost is pretty low, and then vice versa. And it will vary highly depending on the channel. But generally what we're seeing is I mean, of course, in-person degree programs are going to be the most expensive in order to recruit, unless you're, I guess, like the only school in that area, and then your conversion rate is going to be quite high. After that, it's going to be online degrees are going to be the next most expensive, and then it goes down into more certificate programs. And then, sorry, graduate programs are going to be the very most expensive. So generally what we're seeing for more bachelor's, associate's degree programs, I mean, also a huge range depending on the type of program, but generally tech programs are going to be the most expensive to recruit for, and healthcare and more social sciences are on the cheaper end, so usually around like $3,000 to $7,000 cost per start. And that factors in, I mean, kind of everything from cost per lead, of all the leads that won't end up converting, to like, admission staff and all that. And then for certificate programs, it is on a lower end, usually around like $1,400 to $3,000 cost per start is the range that we see. And then much less if it's a non-Title IV certificate program, where students might be paying out of pocket for like a $3,000 class or something like that. But yeah, it will highly vary. Obviously, very effective schools can get much lower than that, and then schools that might be struggling on certain types of programs might see a much higher range. But yeah, I would strongly recommend not just looking at cost per lead benchmarks, because you can be paying like $10 a lead, but then only 0.5% of them might end up converting, or even less. And then same for Google Ads, you might see that, each lead might be like $200, but then if, 15% of them end up converting, that can actually be a really great return depending on how, your program ends up, or yeah, how many of them end up starting and retaining and all of that. So well, I would say those are more like within 2 month or so aged out leads. Of course, there are people who might have inquired again like a year ago or a year and a half ago, and then that also should be factored in. But we usually look at a tighter time frame for us.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that's a really good reminder, looking at cost per start or cost per enrollment rather than cost per lead. And one thing I think, especially depending on the size of your school, even 1 or 2 additional starts can really help to move that needle, right? Like, it doesn't have to be a huge number. If you can get a few more students to enroll and start, you can really help with that cost per enrollment number.
Totally. And I'll also say that's across all channels and all schools that we work with. But on Dreambound,
Yeah.
we a lot better.
That's a really, really awesome benchmark. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think, one of the key pieces of moving these people through the pipeline and getting them to enroll and start, right, is having a really great nurturing strategy and the ability for your admissions team to build relationships with these students and not have to worry about kind of the administrative paperwork or following up, that kind of thing, right? They're focusing more on the relationships and letting the technology do its job. So in order to nurture these leads and move them through the pipeline and hit the benchmarks that Athena mentioned, you need a CRM, right? So our third technology highlight today is Lead Squared CRM. So let me share again. So the key value add for Lead Squared CRM is that it really empowers you as a school to create these automated and customized student enrollment journeys. So I previously worked at a school for 10 years. It was a online post-licensure nursing university, and my most recent position before joining Lead Squared was head of admissions. And so very familiar with using a CRM for admissions, and I could go on and on about Lead Squared and could probably do a full day demo on the platform itself. So I've just picked like my top 4 favorite things about the platform that I want to share with you today. So Lead Squared is super cool because it allows you to create these contact strategies and customize communication to your students through through automation. Sorry, so you can create these different student journeys depending on where they are in your pipeline and send them automated emails. You can create tasks for your admissions reps so that they remember to follow up. Oops, that jumped. But the automation builder is very cool. It's easy for anyone to configure. Lead Squared's team is here if you need help, but it's very self-service and allows you to build those customized student journeys. And then we also have a cool prospective student detail page, which would allow you to see any kind of activity that any department has with the student. So a really nice at a glance view there. And you would also be able to see all of the automated communication activity too. So where are they going through in the contact strategies? And then we have these cool buckets, which I think the slides are automatically moving. So I'm just going to try to talk really quickly. We have these cool buckets called Smart Views, which are totally customizable as well, but they allow your staff to move through the different tasks and things they're working on. So you can have a bucket of like people who recently filled out an application, or maybe a bucket of people who have an interview scheduled today, right? It just really allows you to organize your day with these Smart View buckets. And then the last thing I'll highlight is we have a very cool student portal. So a lot of schools are using this as their online application, a document upload center. I mean, it can be used for a variety of things, and you can gate it such that they move through the journey in the way you want them to. So maybe they fill out the first couple of sections, and then you have to approve all of the documents they've submitted. And then it opens up a second section that they need to complete after they've moved into a different stage of the journey. So the online application portal is very cool, completely branded to what you need, and highly customizable as well. So I just wanted to highlight these 4 key things about Lead Squared's portal. Lead Squared CRM platform. And Burke, I would love if you could talk about what the biggest impact using a CRM has had on your admissions process.
When I look at CRM, I look at insight. Can I get insight from my overall set of activities? I look at with that insight, can I look at approach improvement and how we interact? And then I look at overall efficiency. And efficiency being a couple of different things, like just hands-on tasks that our admissions advisors have to do to take the next step, document, whatever the case might be. But how can we take some of those steps away? Number one. And then certainly when you are an admissions advisor, you are really a project manager. Like you're project managing someone through to what can I get you in terms of information so I can get you to the right person in financial aid? And financial aid is a big part of their overall journey. And maybe it's not financial aid proper with Title IV, but maybe it's other types of funding. And they're also looking at, from the academic side, what do they need to provide the academic team so the academic team can make the appropriate decision and rank them into the program, or give them feedback on how they should really try to improve their application to get in. And then there's a lot of different things that the admissions advisor is really responsible for. And it was interesting. I was looking at how we had a non-automation based CRM process, looking at about 10 years ago. And I was looking at ratio of admissions advisors to lead management and to enrollment, and taking a look at different ratios. And in reality, I think we reduced our overall labor per lead management probably by a good 25%. So as we started introducing more efficient CRM approaches and strategies, it was freeing up our admissions advisors to do what they do best, which is counsel, outreach, get people help and moving along, and project managing some of those background things. But even the project managing side of background requirements, that can also get done through the CRM and application portals, as you were just showing there, Lauren. So yeah, I see the labor component of it going down quite a bit by using an effective and an efficient process inside a good CRM.
Awesome. Thank you for that reflection. And Athena, just kind of final thoughts here. What are your thoughts on how using a CRM will allow your customers to more effectively convert the leads that Dreambound is producing?
Yeah, a CRM is critical for so many reasons. I think level one is like having a source of truth where you can point to specific data and just like know what's going on in your funnel generally. I can't tell you how many schools I've talked to where they don't know the cost per start of of a student, and I'm like, well, you could be like totally losing money on this, and then that's not sustainable if you want to be able to keep growing your school and be able to continue to operate. So that's kind of level one. I think level two is what Burke mentioned about just having that data and being able to action based on it. So now that you have like your funnel all laid out, because a CRM lets you segment into specific parts of your funnel, you can see, where am I actually bottlenecked? Is it I actually am pretty good at converting students and I just like need more of them to hear about my school in the first place? Or is it that a lot of students are falling off on this certain step, and so I need to like really target action on this certain step in order to have a meaningful improvement in how many students convert? Or maybe it's like one specific admissions advisor has a little bit more trouble converting, and so I need to make sure that they get trained up on this specific type of thing. So I think that that's really helpful and actionable for improving operations. And then I would say next is level three is just like sharing out that data with other people who can also then change their actions. And here's what we see with a lot of our most successful schools is if you can share as much data as possible back to your lead provider, whether that's like your Facebook pixel or your Google pixel, or just like reports to aggregators like us, that means that like we can improve. So we do like ranking based on what programs are converting the best for a certain school or whatever it might be. You can also share that data with admission staff too, so that they can see, okay, I want to keep getting that number up because I get motivated by goals and targets and numbers. And that just like frequent feedback is so important for empowering people to make decisions that benefit you. And so I would say all that range is only possible with a source of truth that has it broken up and delineated, which is what a CRM can be so critical for. So yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I love that. I mean, being able to manage all of this activity and the leads in the CRM, like you said, allows you this kind of macro and micro level perspective, right? At a macro level, you can identify like where the roadblocks are for the student in the process and make change there. And then at a micro level, like you mentioned, maybe there are specific coaching opportunities for an admissions advisor, and a CRM allows you insight into both of those areas. So thank you both for your thoughts on that. I know we only have a few minutes left, and I want to give the audience a chance to ask some questions. If y'all would put questions in the chat, we will happily answer them. If you And while we're waiting on questions, we have one more poll. We would love to know if you're interested in the technology that we teased today. So we have Dreambound, FlowStack, and then Lead Squared CRM. And it looks like there's a choice 4. I think that's all of the above. We'll just go with all of the above. Okay, awesome. Any questions for us? Okay, we have one. What is your experience in using videos in the CRM automated messages? This person is currently using Lead Squared CRM. I can speak a little bit to that. So we do have customers who are using video links, like a personalized video link or a video link in a text message to try to engage their student, show them like a day in the life of a current student, and really just try to get them on campus for a campus tour. Burke, are you using any kind of videos in your automated messages, and how do you feel like they're performing?
Actually, we're not using like any direct video in that way. Like we will do some direct marketing around trying to bring people to video sessions to find out a day in the life of, et cetera, et cetera. But we haven't just engaged in just sending out specific links. We're trying to get people to our website and to specific landing pages where that's where they ultimately discover and explore. So it's a little bit different.
One of our schools had, I think, this brilliant strategy. They found this platform, I forget what it was called, where it looks like it's a live webinar, but it's actually asynchronous. And so you like click a link and it's like, oh, webinar starting in 3 minutes, even though like it isn't actually. And then you go and then you get to be able to watch the webinar without actually having a staff member necessarily on. And they found a lot of success with that. Just like so much more high intent. People build that relationship with you. You can answer questions asynchronously if they type in any in the chat that's happening. As for like specific, I don't know, like TikToks or short form video or stuff like that, I mean, I think nurturing matters a lot for people who aren't yet ready to enroll. And so just building up that brand and that recognition of your school in a way that isn't like the speed to lead enroll right now. I mean, that can really help with reducing like the burnout of that lead. It's just like providing valuable content.
Yeah, definitely. That's a very creative idea, the asynchronous webinar, and just another example of kind of giving the student an option on how they want to engage with you. I love that. Any other questions? Well, we are happy to answer questions whenever you have them. You can feel free to contact us at sales@leadsquared.com if you need anything. We would love to hear from you. Hopefully we piqued your interest in a couple of these products and the discussion today. So thank you so much to Athena and Burke for joining us. And I hope you all join us next time for a webinar as well. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.